It's about the size of the message.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And I'm proud to be joined by my colleagues, Senators Durbin, Murray, and Klobuchar. So we see now Republicans are plunging America into a shutdown, rejecting bipartisan talks, pushing a partisan bill, and risking America's health care, worst of all. A few moments ago, Republicans once again rejected Democrats' proposals to avoid a shutdown, fix health care premiums, and spare Americans the calamity of skyrocketing through the roof health care costs. Republicans blocked it again, once again. So now 2 times, Republicans have failed to get enough votes to avoid a shutdown. They've got to sit down and negotiate with Democrats to come to a bill that both parties can support. They didn't do that in the past. Their bill, they call it clean, we call it totally partisan. There was no input from Democrats. Not a single line in their bill had input from Democrats. They never consulted us. Thune didn't consult me. Johnson didn't consult Hakeem. And the bottom line is that we had a partisan bill. You don't pass partisan bills, CR. When I was majority leader, we passed 13 of these bills, not one shutdown. You want to know why? It's because we negotiated with them. They didn't. And that's why they have failed now twice. Now, why do we care so much about them negotiating with us? It's not a point of pride. It's because Americans are hurting with higher costs throughout the country. Some of it's tariffs, some of it's energy costs, some of it's food costs. But one of the main reasons, and the one with the most immediate impact on raising Americans' costs, is skyrocketing costs of health care, all done by the Republicans. We have now learned that the premiums for those on ACA, 24 million people, that's a huge number, will go up 114%. It's an average, depending on your income and depending on what your costs were, that average families can't afford. There are going to be millions of American families in the next week in October sitting down and saying, how are we going to pay these damn bills? What do we have to cut to pay these bills? Or should we cut our health insurance or drop it altogether? It's estimated over 4 million people will. And why are those costs going up? Simply because the Republicans refuse to extend the ACA credits. That's all. And you say, well, negotiate it with them. Well, we want to, but they rejected it 3 times in 3 different bills. And now it's on their backs. And by the way, if you think people don't like it now, there's going to be a crescendo as through the beginning of October, the vast majority of Americans get those bills And they're going to say, what the heck are we going to do? We need health care, but we can't afford it. The data shows that that's one of the most important things to the American people. So we want to sit down and negotiate, but the Republicans can't do it in their partisan way, where they just say it's our way or the highway. We're not doing a thing to deal with the destruction that their health care bills have cost. Those bills are highly unpopular. In fact, Trump has talked about changing the name from Big Beautiful Bill. He even mentioned it yesterday, because he knows how unpopular it is. And they try to divert the subject, change the subject, and make up lies, like saying, oh, we're for giving this health care money to undocumented immigrants. They know damn well that the law is that no Medicare, Medicaid, or ACA funds can go to undocumented immigrants. But they're so afraid to debate this issue. They have so many right-wingers in their caucus who don't want to do anything that they come up with these lies to divert attention. The bottom line is we need to stop these premiums from going up dramatically. We need to do it now, not in October when people get the notices, not in November when they have to decide whether to drop health care or reduce the health care they get. And this is not a left, right, or center issue. This is of great help. This is to help the American people into one of the things they are most worried about. So we hope they sit down with us and talk. Otherwise, it's the Republicans who will be driving us straight towards a shutdown tonight and at midnight, and the American people will blame them for bringing the federal government to a halt. Senator Durbin.
The whip's job in short order comes down to a very basic responsibility. You've got to be able to count to 60. I learned all the skills I needed in the first grade. I've used them in the Senate, and I've come to the conclusion that if you start off with 53 votes, as the Republicans do, they need 7 from our side. What Chuck Schumer has outlined is basic. If they want support from the Democratic side, for God's sake, sit down and let's talk it over at the table as soon as possible. There are plenty of tables in this Capitol for this purpose. We can do it. The second point I want to make is a very brief one. Health care is critical. If you've ever had a sick member of your family and no health insurance, you'll never forget it. That was my experience and the experience of a lot of people. To say that we look the other way when it comes to cutting health insurance or raising the premiums to a point where families can't afford them is to ignore one of the very basics of family solidarity. We believe in doing something for health care and doing it right as quickly as possible. It's important now that we do it. Tonight's vote's an evidence of the fact that it's up to us on a bipartisan basis to make a difference. Now we've got one problem. The House left. There's no one here to negotiate with in the House of Representatives. I sure hope that changes soon. The sooner they come back and go to work with us, the sooner we can solve this problem.
Thank you, Dick. Senator Murray did a great job as our ranking member of Appropriations.
Yeah, thank you. We have been calling for Republicans to work with us to keep the government funded, to address the health care crisis they created, and to stop people's premiums from skyrocketing. Republicans haven't just stuck their heads in the sand, they've outright refused to get serious about a solution. Well, health care rates for next year are being finalized right now. Rate hikes will be in the mail any day. Open enrollment is weeks away. And still, Republicans have refused to lift a finger to prevent millions of families from being hit with massive costs. Well, Republicans may be forcing the government to shut down before they so much as talk about health care, but they will not shut down the debate. And they will not shut out the voices of families who want action before their monthly health care payments more than double. One family in my home state of Washington is about to see their monthly premium jump from $278 a month to $1,800 a month because of Republicans' inaction. That is what's at stake. That is the problem Republicans refuse to solve, and that is what they have to answer for. This has been a problem for months. Why hasn't Republican leadership joined us at the table? We have been here all year. Why do Republicans prefer to shut down the government over talking about how we save families from astronomical health care price hikes. I mean, do Republicans care about farmers? They tell us they do, because a quarter of our farmers are enrolled in those health care exchanges. Republicans say they care about small business owners and employees. Do they care about people who are self-employed? Because nearly half of them get their health care on the exchanges. Do Republicans care if their constituents lose their health care? Because some of the areas that most rely on the health care tax credits to afford that coverage are represented by Republicans. Don't tell us to wait. Don't tell us to wait. Families are waiting, and we've been at the table ready to solve this for months. Don't tell us you want to fix this later. Later is too late. The health care clock has all but run out. If Republicans refuse to act, families are going to pay the price. It will cost millions of people hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars a month. In some cases, it will cost them their health care insurance entirely. People are about to get completely priced out of their coverage. Republicans are sitting on their hands. And worse than that, they are reveling in this shutdown. Trump just said, quote, "A lot of good can come from shutdowns." He said, quote, "You can get rid of a lot of things we didn't want. They'd be Democrat things." Trump doesn't want to lift a finger to stop health care premiums from more than doubling. But he is raring to go when it comes to firing whoever he wants to, or slashing whatever he wants to, or prosecuting whoever he wants to, or telling his military his opponents are enemies within, and tweeting AI nonsense and lying about whatever he wants to. Trump doesn't care about how this shutdown is going to hurt real average Americans across the country. He doesn't care about the Republican health care crisis. He clearly thinks this is all a game. Democrats know better. The stakes for American families are real. When people get priced out of their health care, they put off their basic care. They skimp on their prescriptions. They miss out on life-saving treatments. We are not going to let Republicans dodge this subject, and we're not going to let them delay this action on an empty promise or a pig in a poke. We're going to keep calling them to sit down, work with us to keep the government open, and solve this health care crisis.
Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much. I wish that President Trump had gone to Senator Shaheen's hearing today, spotlight hearing, in which a woman with MS talked about how she, from Maine, how she had already met with her doctor. Her MS is under control, but she said, "I'm not going to be able to afford this medication with the premium increases." And the doctor said, she said, "Can I take half the dose? Can I do something like that?" Doctor says, "No, too much pressure on your brain. It matters in the long term." That's what's going to be happening right now if they continue down this path. I simply don't understand why, when behind closed doors, our Republican colleagues say, "We know this is bad, we know where our farmers are, we know the tariffs are bad, we know that is bad." They keep saying it, but then they go out there and do exactly what Donald Trump wants. So that's why our leader and Hakeem Jeffries wanted that meeting, because we know, and when you look at what they have done, they have rubber-stamped a $4 trillion debt with the big, beautiful bill. They have rubber-stamped the tariffs, which they know hurts their constituents, hurts their farmers. They've rubber-stamped their ability to even do appropriations and let him steal the money and do whatever he wants. They have rubber-stamped nominees like RFK Jr. and now regret it. That's what's been going on. So Donald Trump, author of The Art of the Deal, takes pride in that, has to come to the table. Democrats are focused, as you can see by the vote on our bill, on doing something on health care. And as we've said many times, when it comes to people's premiums, this is not a December problem, it's not a January problem, it's a now problem. Rural hospitals in Minnesota have told me our patients can't handle this when a quarter, a third of them are on these, in our state, MNsure. They're not going to be able to handle this because they'll just go off insurance and then they're going to show up in our emergency rooms. That's what we're dealing with. That's why we're pushing this right now. It's a now thing.
Questions?
Leader
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Leader, just a short time ago, Leader Thune told us that there are some conversations with Democrats to try to woo them to their side. Also, we saw Senator Cortez Masto, Senator King vote in favor of the Republican CR. Are you concerned about that at all, and are you aware of any of these conversations?
First, I'm concerned about Americans' health care. That's what we Democrats are concerned about. They're having real trouble. It's going to get a lot worse with this 114% increase, and we feel we're representing our constituents in the best way possible by insisting that Republicans come to the table. We certainly are willing to have negotiations. There's no problem with that, but they've got to be bipartisan, and they've got to have real input from both sides. Yes.
Senator Thune says that he plans to have a vote again and again and again on the GOP CR. So can you guarantee with 100% certainty that that plan will never get 60 votes?
Look, the bottom line is, as I said, our guarantee is to the American people that we're going to fight as hard as we can for their health care, plain and simple. Yes.
Just said before you got here that he disagrees with the premise of the subsidies they were put in place during COVID. They should have never been extended this far. Are you willing to take anything less other than what you demanded in your bill?
Look, the bottom line is we're not going to negotiate this bill in public. We need to come to a bipartisan solution that protects America's health care. Yes, in the back.
Leader Schumer,
No, okay, go ahead.
what's
You'll
your
go next.
strategy for getting Republicans to negotiate at this point, given that they haven't so far?
The strategy is the American people are demanding it, and going to demand it more and more on October 1st, October 2nd. They're going to keep demanding that we do something about this. And Republicans are feeling the heat. You have a good number of Senate Republicans and House Republicans, as was mentioned. When they talk to us privately, they say this is untenable. When I even sat with the president yesterday and explained to him about this, he said, "Ooh, that's bad. That'll hurt me." So the bottom line is the American people are making their voices known to the Republicans, and that's what we know is going to happen. And hopefully they'll understand that and come to bipartisan solutions that help the American people. Yes. No, right there. No. It's everyone's skipping.
Thank you. Yesterday you said after the White House meeting that you told President Trump and Republicans they could take two things from your bill and put them in to get it to avoid a shutdown. That was the ACA credits you mentioned and the provisions on impoundments and rescissions. You did
Yes.
not mention the provisions that would roll back the Medicaid cuts. Is that still a demand for Democrats, or is that something you guys are
Look,
taking
we
on?
care about everything. You know, we care about health care across the board. I wanted to start off to the president with a couple of things, but it's not an exclusive list. Yes.
With two additional Democrats voting for the Republican CR tonight, doesn't that undermine your leverage as you try to seek a negotiation with Republicans?
The bottom line is, again, what gives us the ability to win this argument with the American people is we're standing for what they want with health care, and they are not. Thank you, everybody.
3 votes tonight. Why isn't your argument resonating with Republicans so you pick up some votes?